Hi guys, welcome to another video. Today I am showing you how to pipe buttercream roses on both a cupcake, and then I'm going to show you another way so that you can get these smaller roses as well. Okay, so here's everything you're going to need. I have 2 bowls of buttercream, one is pink and one is green, and those are going to be for the petals and the leaves. Paper towel is super handy to have nearby. A rubber spatula, a straight icing spatula, piping tips. This is the Wilton 125, and then I have the Wilton 366 piping tip. These are just smaller versions, and a flower nail. And you're definitely going to need some cupcakes to work on, so I have 2 here. These are red velvet cupcakes. And then I have a couple pieces of parchment paper. Lastly, we just have some piping bags. First, I'm going to show you how to pipe a buttercream rose on a cupcake. I'm starting off with the Wilton 125 piping tip. This is a big piping tip. It looks like a raindrop. And I am going to put that into one of my piping bags. And then I'm going to fill up the piping bag with the pink buttercream. You can obviously use any color that you see fit. So now that we have our piping bag ready to go, we want to make sure that the pointed part of the piping tip is facing upwards. You want to make sure that it's pointed towards the ceiling the entire time. So we are going to hold it right above the top of our cupcake, and we are going to start piping a cone shape, and this is going to be the center of our rose. The next step in this process is piping a full circle of buttercream around that initial cone that we made. From time to time, you may find that the buttercream will get the piping tip messy, so just go in with that paper towel that we have and wipe off the piping tip, and that will make sure that you have a really smooth finish when piping the buttercream onto the cupcake. The third step is piping on the petals. So you want to pipe on sort of like a C shape, and then you want to overlap the C shapes. So these are the petals, and you want to make sure that you keep overlapping and you don't pick up where you left off. Overlapping them ensures that it looks really natural. And I'm just going to continue this process until most of the cupcake is covered. And then once I get to the outer edges of the cupcake, it may start to get a little bit messy again. So this is when I like to go in and clean up the cupcake with a spatula, and I just push in the buttercream a little bit. At this point, we want the petals to kind of have that blooming effect. So face your piping bag outwards on an angle and just start piping. Here you will see that the petals are getting much larger and they are facing the ceiling once you pipe them on. And this is really giving that open flower look to the cupcake. Just a couple more here to go, and then we will get on to the leaves of the rose. One very important tip I want to mention is that when you're piping buttercream roses, you want to make sure that you're working with a stiff buttercream. A great way to ensure this is to make sure that you are working with either very cold buttercream, or if you just made the buttercream, to make sure that the moisture content is lower, so you may want to use more powdered sugar in your buttercream. Having a stiff buttercream ensures that your petals are very crisp and clean looking. Now we're working on the leaves, and you want to make sure yet again that the pointed part of the tip is facing up. With this particular tip, you can use it for a few different things, but if you have it on the side, I'm just showing an example, it looks like that. Not what we want. So you really need to make sure that the pointed part is facing towards the ceiling. And on the side of the rose, you're going to pull outwards while you're piping the buttercream, and you're also going to be using a very small back and forth motion, which is going to give this really pretty natural leaf look. So this was the first method that I like to use, and now I'm going to show you the second way that I like to make buttercream roses. So we have a cake flour nail, and I am going to pipe on a little bit of buttercream, and then I'm going to take one of those parchment paper squares and stick that right on top. Since we're working on a smaller buttercream rose, I am using the smaller petal tip and of course a smaller bag. Going to fill that up with buttercream, and then in my right hand I'm holding the flour nail, and at an angle I am holding the piping bag in my left hand, and I am making a cone shape again. Now it is a lot easier to make the cone shape, let alone the entire rose, on a cake flour nail. So you can see after that initial cone that I made, I did a full circle of buttercream again, and now after that I can just start making little C's, and that is going to be the petals of the rose. I am going to do this until the whole circle is filled, and then of course on the outer edges I am going to point the piping bag at an angle away from the rose, and that's going to make sure that the petals are blooming. Now if you are making a rose like this and you are putting it directly onto a cake or a cupcake, then you can skip the parchment paper and just use a pair of scissors for getting the buttercream rose off and transferring it to the cake. But I like to freeze my buttercream roses, that way it's super easy to transfer, and I know that the buttercream is not going to get ruined in any way. So now I am just using the piping tip for the leaf and just making quick little leaves on the side like we did on our cupcake. And I'm just showing you as an example, I'm piping some buttercream onto the cupcake, and this rose here was in the freezer, so it's hard enough to just peel off of the parchment paper, and there you have a perfect little cupcake. Both of these methods work really great, and I hope you guys try them out. Thank you so much for watching.